Hey guys, it's Steve. So I'm going to create a chat GPT in front of you that is going to analyze HUD statements. I'm here for any questions anybody has, but I just want to go through whatever we have going on that might be in front of, because somebody was supposed to be on the call at 11, and I guess we missed each other. No big deal. That's fine. So I'm just kind of being here. Um, and just kind of letting everybody know the deal. So I have from Harvey's. Sorry, I just want to pull these up, not from Paragon, from Parkland. Okay, so this contains everything. All right, so let me see. I'm going to review them here visually, like in front of you, and then I'm going to show you how the ChatGPT does it. This deal is a little unusual. This is what's called a double close transaction. Um, and I'm actually going to get rid of my face to try to give more room to the screen. That's this button. All right, so we're going to open up the PDFs one at a time. So this is the borrower's statement, which is from us hunting for homes. Actually, I'm going to use Cami for these because I'm going to mark these for ChatGPT. You're kind of seeing some other stuff, but that's fine. So this is step step one, from deed owner to all right, and I'm just going to and I'm doing this both for you, but also because I'm giving it to ChatGPT for the first time, and I don't want any misunderstanding as to what's happening. So Donna is deeded owner. We are wholesaler. Whatever, fine. And this is the buyer part of the equation. So this is the alta for the buyer side of the equation. And the first thing I want to explain is that the reason I'm doing this is because every different transactions use different forms. Different title companies use different forms. Sometimes buyers in one column, sellers in another. I like those personally, but I never quite know. The title companies made a choice for some reason, and I'm staying out of why they made their choice. So we're buying the house for $12,000. There's a $200 deposit. Prorations of taxes and so forth. This, if you're good, you're better than I am, you can figure out if these are true. I have trouble with these because in the county that this is in, they're paid on 3 different dates. They have 3 different calendars going on. January something and something. I don't know, but that's the title company's job. I stay out of that equation. Title company charges, um, government recording charges. Okay, so we have to, in order to buy this property, we have to bring this much money for our side of the equation. So this is our money in. And we're just going to make it the same color kind of thing so that, again, a lot of this is for the purposes of to the chat GPT. So that's the first thing. So we're bringing 13,000 something, something, something in. Fine. Now we need to find this HUD statement, which is the other side of this equation. I'm just checking back to see if anybody else showed up. Nope. Okay, fine. So now we are tomorrow. Now we are looking at seller's statement 2, which I'm hoping is, oh crap, I wanted to use Cami for this. I used there. I used the wrong open button, basically. I have to use this open button. Seller statement 2, I hope this is the right one. So this is, we're the buyer. So again, this is seller side of double close, seller to hunting. And I'm just going to draw again 2 lines. And I'm going to use the same colors here just to make sure that we all know what's going on. Donna is seller. And here we go. Boom. Okay, so I all right, next. So this is the seller side. All right, so that is the seller side to hunting for homes. So there's a 2-sided transaction. And I'm just going to do a quick drawing here, which has nothing to do with anything, so it won't be stored. Is A is the seller, C is the end buyer, and B is the wholesaler. In many wholesale transactions, the actual deed goes here to here. That's a single closing, and money just falls off to us in the middle. In this transaction, it's actually going from A to B, from seller to wholesaler, and then from B to C. 2 actual separate legal transactions. So now, because I didn't name them, I'm going to just jump into okay, so now that we've identified that, now we're going to identify the seller's statement, which is to the end buyer from hunting for homes. Okay. So we're going to identify this one, which is, this is now from hunting for homes. And we're going to use the same colors here. Orange, I think, was seller, so we're going to keep that going. And we're going to show how these two connect. And then we're going to keep this going. And there is no downstairs for that. And so I didn't show you the seller side of the other one, but I'll show it to you here. We're selling it for $34,000. Remember, we bought it for $12,000, so not a bad number in the middle. There's a deposit that is being held here. We have the deposit. Now you notice the spread is 12 to 22, 12 to 34, so $12,000. No, $22,000. 12 to 34, yeah. Now what they're not describing here, excess, okay, so excess deposit is held out as we should be getting 22, we're getting 17. And there is stuff in here we could question because we want to make sure we're getting back whatever we paid. I could compare them. I'm hoping ChatGPT will do this. But basically, we're getting 17,700 plus 3 is 20,007 of 2,200. Now, if I just look at buyer side, D denoted H for H. So I don't want to look at it, I think it is. So we're paying buyer side. We're paying 284, 82, so 400, call it, plus another 600, 789. So we're paying a little over $1,100 in double close and $1,200 there's some double close costs. So we should expect we're not making the 22,000. We're making 22,000 minus our expenses on this transaction. This is why double closes are bad, because we have hard costs. They're good because I didn't want the sellers to know we were making twice as much as they were on the transaction. That's the reason we double closed it. So basically, the fact that we're getting 17,700 plus 3, 20,700 makes perfect sense. And actually, this title company is great because they're not charging us fees on our upfront money and stuff. So they're actually being a little bit generous to us. So that's fine. And this is the seller side. So I want to make sure that ChatGPT identifies it as and then one more is the only remaining one, which is seller settlement 1, which is our, wait, no, sorry. I'm confused now. It's fun when you confuse yourself, huh? So we did seller side, so now it's buyer's side. Statement 1 should be, okay, so this is it. So this is, again, I opened the wrong one, but okay, fine, we can fix that. This has everything to do with giving the ChatGPT what it needs to know. Buyer settlement 1. It's their naming convention, not mine. Don't blame me. So this is side 2. And again, we're going to name our colors. Our green side, which is our, I forget. Our green side, which I think is our buyer. I'm doing this so lines don't cross. That's the only reason I'm doing this. And this is all right. So we now have created, and we're looking at. Hey, Alex, how you doing? Hey, man. All right. So, any questions we wanted to cover? Because I feel like there's an open question. I don't want to plow ahead with what I was doing before I cover whatever you're covering. Okay, I can't hear you, so and I can't see your lips. So I don't know if you're talking. All right. Well, if there is, jump in. What I'm covering today is what HUD statements, which is closing statements, look like. And I know there was something else you and I wanted to talk to. And please, if I'm ever, because I think we talked about meeting a little earlier, if I miss a time, just text me or something, because I've been online here. I didn't check with you on phone side. I'm trying to figure out how to consolidate all that. But anyway, so this is a closing statement. And this is really important for you guys to understand how we get paid on transactions. This one's weird, and I'll just kind of go over the drawing again just so you understand it. So normally, and this is just general wholesale education stuff. If there's anything you say, feel free to jump in. So the seller is called A. Probably not the greatest letter, but whatever. The end buyer is called B, the only one that actually makes sense. And then C is the wholesaler. Fine. You know, S, B, W, whatever you want to call it. Fine. A normal wholesale transaction, which this one is not, the deed does this. And money just falls off to us as a listed assignment fee on the HUD statement. So there's not, at no time do we take possession of the deal. So A will be, we bought it for $2,000. We're selling it for $5,000. And there's $3,000 falling off in the middle. That's a normal wholesale transaction. This particular one is called the double close, which means we are actually legally taking possession of the house for 15 minutes or 2 hours or whatever. And then it goes like that. So we're actually, for a moment, owning the house. Not enough of a moment that I have to put it in insurance. If it was going to be ours overnight, I'd be putting in insurance, which is freaking expensive. Don't even ask about vacant property insurance. It's expensive. So in this case, we're actually closing the deal. We will, for 10 minutes, own this property. And we bought it for $1,000. We sold it for $3,000, whatever. Our profit is about that number. So that's the difference. Now, in this particular transaction, we bought it for $12,000. We sold it for $34,000. So there should be a $22,000 spread in there. Now, in this transaction, there's about $1,500 in costs in the actual closing, double close process. We lose. So we start with $22,000. Yeah. And this isn't going to line up as nice as I want to do it. $1,500 in costs. Results in, and I'm just going to increase the cost to $2,000 because this is going to be easier for my head. This is transfer tax, deed prep, title insurance, stuff we have to do to own the property in the first place. Then So then the remaining profit is no longer 22, it's now 20,000. So 20,000. The company needs $2,000 to run on, about 10%. Actually, I'm sorry, $3,000 to run. When it's licensed people, I can do it for lower. When it's non-licensed person involved, I have to do it for higher. So because of you, I'll explain that. The bottom line is our risk is higher when we're dealing with someone who's not licensed, because you're not licensed. If you had your own license, whatever. But anyway, so there's $19,000 left. And we have built into this number a transaction coordinator. Sometimes it's on top, sometimes it's built in, but in this case, it's built in. So that 19,000 is what we're all sharing. And then, it's, if you were 50% on this transaction, you get half of that. If you're a third, you whatever. So that's where the money comes from. So when we have a spread of 22,000, you're not necessarily getting half of the 22. We always have this number. Sometimes there's another transaction coordinator making this 18,000. But still, half or a third of 18,000 is still not a bad number. So anyway, so that's how the numbers work out. And I'll be jumping into another training in a moment. But so what I've done, come on, my phone, when an alarm goes off, my phone will not shut up until I listen to it. So I clear it on the. Fine. So now what I'm going to do, and do you have any questions, Alex? Oh, you're gone again. Okay. Not quite sure. Okay. That's weird. Anyway, all right. So basically, we're now going to. Wait, is that you coming back in? Hey, you're back again. Okay, cool. All right. So, any questions, Alex, on this or anything else?
No.
Okay. All right. So, what you kind of missed there, and it'll be on the video, is normal transactions go from seller to buyer, and our fee just as a line item, and it drops down. Like it actually says wholesale fee or commission to blah, 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 that number. That's a normal A to B assignment transaction. This is a double close, meaning we actually take possession of the property and then resell it for we own it for 20 minutes. And in that situation, we actually have hard costs. In an assignment fee, we don't really have any hard costs because we don't own the property. It's pretty simple. Bought it for 5, sold it for 10, our fee is 5. Done. In this transaction, we have a $22,000 spread, and we have about $2,000 in hard costs, a little less than whatever. But so our actual profit is 20 grand. Then we have company operational expenses, 15%. And once you're not licensed, our operational costs go down. Once you are licensed. When you're not licensed, it's more of a risk. So anyway, so the 20,000 becomes 17, and the 17 is what we're all splitting, basically. Just to kind of catch you up on what you weren't there for. So what I'm doing here is I always review, and you can watch this video later because we'll jump into brokerage stuff in a minute. I always look at the HUD statements very quickly. And there's a lot in the HUD statements that this is done by professional licensed title company. So this shouldn't be a problem. There shouldn't be an error. But we always look at it, honestly, especially with most title companies, but especially this one. And what we're looking for is glaring errors, because things like this section here, prorations and adjustments, taxes, basically, their computer has determined it based on the county and the municipality and how they schedule their taxes and whatever. I glance at it to make sure it looks kind of right. But in my county, there's 3 tax bills, comes out 3 times a year. They're on 3 different annual calendars, and it's all prorated by the day. And I'm not sitting there and doing 3 prorations. January divided by 365, March, I'm just not doing it. So I glance at that. I glance at these, the charges from the escrow company. They're kind of set. meaning they're set by the company. So all I'm going to know here is whether I want to work with this company again in the future. Because if they stick in a bogus that $500 charge just for the pleasure of doing business, well, then I'm not coming back to you. I'm stuck. I contracted with you, so I'm stuck paying it this time. But it teaches me about them. And then down here is recording stuff. So I'm glancing at these sections, but really what I'm looking at is I'm looking at what am I making. Now, if you're a licensed agent, and you're representing a client, you're looking at them as well. You're protecting them. In wholesale, we're not, so whatever. But I also do look to make sure that the sale was $34,000. The buyer is having to bring 36, and then I glance at these other numbers. Okay, yeah, they all add up to $2,000. Okay, fine. So I look even in a wholesale a little bit at that stuff, but I'm really not doing it. Now I've now created a chat GPT for double closes that gives me another look at it, basically. And I've just told ChatGPT who the players are, and now it's going to analyze this for me as well to double check my analysis. You get to the point where you don't need this, but I don't do a lot of double closes. Not a lot of things have a spread necessary for a double close. So um, I'm just creating this now to make um, and as soon as it stops processing, I'm going to um, do it. And I'll tell you, I use ChatGPT an awful lot. I don't like it. I don't like it for a couple reasons. Most importantly, because of its high electricity usage and high water usage. It's AI is a wonderful innovation from one standpoint, but our development of how we run AIs, how we power them, and how we cool them, and I'm saying we in the United States. Other countries are slightly better. They use renewable energy. And I'm not sure this is exactly perfect, but they put their servers underwater, like in the ocean. So cooling is less of an issue. They're not using clean water to cool with. For whatever reason, the AI companies in the US use fresh water and they poison the fresh water. They don't just run it through the plant, they add chemicals to it. So it's no longer healthy when it comes out the other side. So I've got a lot of issues with how AI is done in the US. I use a company when I can called Ecosia, which is the renewable energy, and they're just nicer, but they can't do this kind of fancy stuff. So now it's run an analysis, but now I'm just giving them the clarification for things that are missing. So now it corrects the reconciliation. And ChatGPT has a tendency to drift And in fact, I brought this up on a training class I was on, a self-storage training class with the guy who developed some very fancy, I can never talk when I'm doing these, GPTs. And I said, well, that's funny. Every time I ask it to tweak its analysis, it breaks something else. He's like, you're prompting it wrong. I said, well, I say, leave all this alone, only change that part. He said, that's what you're prompting wrong. He's like, you have to create a whole new prompt. Prompt analysis is like a big thing. So anyway, so and see, here is exactly where it gets lost. It's wrong on this. It's completely wrong. So obviously the prompt we created is not correct. And the reason it's wrong, and I'll go back to real numbers over here. I thought I was going to show off a fun GPT, but the real numbers don't work out that way. So anyway, so basically in this case, we bought it for 12,000. We sold it for 34. That's 22,000. We have $2,000 in hard costs and transactions, $3,000 in company costs. So we lose 5,000. We're at 17. 17 is where we're all eating. So that's pretty much all I was trying to cover. I thought the GPT was going to be a show off, but obviously I have some prompt analysis to do there. All right, so now what I want to do, and I'm going to send you guys all calendar invites, is on a weekly basis. So we're doing these classes 3 times a week, but I want to make sure we all spend a half hour on the phone together individually, at least once a week, in addition to whatever deals you have. Alex, do me a favor. If I don't send it out by later today, remind me to send out the message to that guy yesterday. And I got to do Pottstown as well. Totally unrelated deal. I can do Pottstown next, actually. I just have so many different things going on. Sometimes I forget. So if I don't send that group text to the guy for Chew Street by 4 o'clock today, bug me, remind me. But I want to go on the phone with everybody once a week for half an hour, more if you want, just to make sure you're moving forward. You're whatever, you're whatever. So the rest of today is actually focused on licensed broker stuff, which you're welcome to stick around for. But before I go there, I want to describe what happened yesterday with Ryan and I. Now, every time we do a wholesale, we're doing it under a brokerage firm. We're doing it as a license, even if it's a wholesale. Yesterday was absolutely a cookie cutter day. So here's what happened. Back in, I guess it must have been mid-December. I think it was December 12th. We had a lady with a house in a semi-rural area, right near Mount Airy Casino, actually. And I didn't realize how close we were until I left, and I realized that I probably could have hit casino property with a shotgun from her house. Would have been a 15-minute walk if you like the woods. And we got it for 115, I think. Functional house, nice, good piece of land, whatever. Outdated, ugly, and smelly, but whatever. And we had showings yesterday to 5 different interested people who were naming numbers way the hell over what we had it for. Not way the hell, 10,000 or 15, 20,000 over. So we knew we had 5 people showing up. It was happening. Somebody was buying. We met. She was a little bit tense on the text message. Of course, she never met us. We got there. She's the sweetest lady. She's wonderful. Whatever. So thankful this is happening. People show up. Some make offers. Some don't. Okay, fine. One guy sticks around. He was the first one to show up. He was the last one to leave. He wanted this house. And he and another bidder had a very competitive price within a tiny bit of each other. We don't often do group showings, but when we do, it always works out well. And he was telling us, listen, I'll go 140, 150, 160. He was telling us numbers way above. And when everybody gave us the number who was going to, but he stuck around because he wanted it done today. We said, listen, you're within a couple $1,000s of the other bidder. He was actually off by like $500. I said, you're in the range of the other bidder. I can't tell you who's higher, but you're here. Give me your highest and best, and we'll do it. And he's like, well, 160. I said, I'm not doing that. I said, you're not far from the other bidder. He's like, well, what's the number? I said, I can't tell you that. So I said, look, I said, you don't need to go to 140, 150, 160 because it just wouldn't be fair. We said, and he said, 135. Done. Here's the paperwork. We sign it. We go in. She co-signs it. She doesn't know what we got it for. She will never know the spread. We're going to double close this one. And that worked out great. Now, what we're going to try to do, if all parties will collaborate with this, because she wants to see it when the house is finished. Everyone is so sweet. They like each other. Actually, buyer and seller talked and kind of got on the same page. We normally don't allow that, but special circumstances here because sentimental stuff, whatever. We're going to try to make this a TV show. We're going to try to make this a pilot for a TV show because it's just it worked out great because he got it for less than he was willing to get it for. She was, when I went back in after I told her, we had a funder, she's like, how much do I have to lower my price by? I said, no, you get your price. So she got her number. He got it for less than his number. We got more than we expected. Everybody wins. That's terrific. So the steps now on this are, it's going today to his title company. I have the deposit check in my car. I just have to drop it off. It's going to be a fairly clean slate. Now it's all about going to closing. Now, a few things to cover here, and this is important for those of us who are licensed. I'm glad some of the licensed people are watching us. So somebody on the chat just said, don't use ChatGPT, idiot. It's like, well, the first part of your statement is correct. By the way, I want to be clear about this. When you use a GPT for something, it's like using a calculator. It's like using a spreadsheet. It's a tool. But you still need to double check that tool manually. Like, I don't ever just trust my spreadsheets. I always round them off and say, okay, the spreadsheet was supposed to run this long formula. Now let me find the simple way to do it myself so I can verify that we're in the same ballpark. Spreadsheet comes up with $17,284,000, and I come up with between 15 and 20 when I use round numbers. All right, I've doubled it. If I can be more accurate, great. But the point is, never trust a machine. To err as human, to totally fuck things up requires a computer. But also don't insult people in the professional world. Anyway, so this is going to be an easy transaction. What was unusual on this property was it's a shared septic between three properties. Deeded shared septic in the deed, yada, 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 all good. Fine, here we go. It's important that you know these material facts when you are doing a deal and you share them, whether you're licensed or you're not. But as a licensee, you're required to. Here's the law on material facts, and it's very, very important. A material fact, there's an actual technical definition, but the fuzzy math on material fact is anything any party considered might have affected their decision in the transaction. That's like there are dragons everywhere in that conversation. Okay, anything any party might have considered might have changed their position. Like, the point is, and the reason I use this fuzzy math is it's our job to be overly cautious. And you'll notice in there, it doesn't say that your client wishes to share. I had a transaction years ago that this client gave me the disclosure, which is legally required. This is a disclosure document, whatever, fine, here you go. And there's two disclosures, by the way. There's a state disclosure, which is a physical building disclosure. Every state is different, but pretty much tell us what we know about the property. And there's an EPA-led disclosure. Building built before 1978, you have to give this one EPA form, federal law required, $33,000 in fines. Do it. By the way, on the lead disclosure, it's easy. Mr. Owner, have you had a lead company professionally test the building for lead? No. Okay. Then your answer is no knowledge, no records. And the owner says, but I know the building's old. I know it has lead. I said, no, no, no. You know it had lead. You don't know what it has today. You know back when it was built, there was nothing else but lead paint. But you don't know today. So don't bury yourself. Anyway, so you do the disclosures, but in this particular property, I noticed something that wasn't in his disclosure. There was something in the foundation that just looked broken. I forget if it was a crack or it was, but something to me said, possible issue. And so my responsibility as a licensee was to say to people and put in the listing, put in the private remarks, hey, over in this corner, when I was on property, this looked funny. This potentially could be an issue. No, potentially could be I was going too far, probably. But like, hey, in the left front corner, there's a crack in the foundation. Owner does not think structural, but I wanted to inform. Our job is to, if our knowledge and experience points something out. Now remember, you got to, as a licensee, you're playing the line. You're protecting your client, but you're also being honest with other brokers and cooperating fair and material fact and all that. So you got to sort of look at, do I think this is a problem enough to make it a material fact? Do I know material fact, not material think? Do I know this is a problem? Like you see white corrugated stuff around a pipe. I don't have to disclose that as asbestos because I don't have a test telling me it is. I know, we all know most white corrugated products around pipes are probably asbestos. Most and probably it's not a material fact. However, pipe leak in basement causing puddle of water every 4 hours. If owner didn't put that down and you saw that, you have to report that. Pipe leak in basement. Boom. That's all you have to do. Pipe leak in basement over here, take a look at it. So anyway, we disclosed this shared septic before anyone came out. And everybody knew about it. And they came and they made their decision based on that. I didn't think the shared septic would be in the deed. When it was in her deed, it was wonderful. So to close it, numbers work out. Everything goes from there. Now, the other part of the licensed effort, and this is why I encourage everyone to get licensed, because you can do transactions as a licensee, you can refer to other licensees and get referral fees, you can do wholesale as a licensee, you can do other services like rentals as a licensee. By the way, William asked me yesterday about doing a rental for someone, being a leasing agent. Totally okay. Just we write up a leasing agreement with the client and we build in our commission. And that's whatever. Is it small numbers? Sure, because you're making the percentage of rent. By the way, you're not making percent in residential. You're making first month's rent. We as a brokerage firm are making first month's rent. But still, compared to a $10,000 commission, it's a $1,000 a month first month's rent. But it's a good income, and it's also a good relationship builder with the owner. So go for it. I walked him through a bunch of things on that. We'll talk about that if you ever want to. But the other reason you get licensed is because your training as a licensee puts you in a situation of, yes, more disclosure, more being cautious, more having to identify. Hey, Alex. But the flip side of it is that as a licensee, you can do more. And the reality is, okay, so this is what I wanted to cover. The law, I'm sorry, this is not the law. First thing is, people say licensed realtor. There is no such thing. There is no licensed realtor. There is a licensee, an agent, and there's a realtor. It's a club. So you can have a license like William does and not be a realtor. That is okay. Within the Association of Realtors and within the local boards, there are rules. And some of them allow you to have non-licensed people in your firm, and some of them don't. But that's a conversation you and I can have separately. So the point is, there is no such thing as a licensed realtor. Every realtor is licensed. Not every licensee is a realtor. But what I wanted to cover in that topic, and I'm just going to pull this off the screen for now. What I wanted to cover in that topic is that board membership, NAR has changed its rules as of January something of 26, that the boards are allowed to give MLS access to non-realtors. Doesn't mean you're a realtor. Doesn't mean you're able to post and do stuff. You're allowed to get access. That's a board by board decision. So if you want MLS access in your community, talk to me. You want to become if you're licensed, you want to become a realtor, talk to me. Without the NAR fees, without the association membership crap, because that's different in every community, almost always somewhere around $1,600 a year. You're not talking a large amount of money to get yourself your license. You're talking $500 for the course, maybe less. You're talking $500 for the. And Alex, this is licensed stuff, so you're welcome to stay. I would love to have you get licensed, but if you need to do something else, that's cool. I saw your lip and I didn't hear anything.
I ask you a question real fast. Are you going to kind of close down on that property?
Sorry, what?
You still going to close down on that property? Because I had sent you the information. First, the last thing that you know.
You mean Chew Street? That guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So you might have been dropped out. I actually said, remind me if I don't send that out by later today. Remind me, and I will. I didn't get to it yesterday, but I'm going to send him a message. I'll send him right after we're done here. So, and actually, that's the guy you're talking about, right? The Chew Street Allentown guy that we talked to yesterday, or Philadelphia, rather. Yeah. Okay. And by the way, guys, I want to be clear how you should be sending us leads. Text us when you fill out the form, but everything should go through the form. And if you don't already have the link, let me know and I'll resend it. And I've now realized that we need more of a centralized communication hub, so I'm having that built right now. But anyway, so Alex brought a great lead to the table yesterday, and it keeps disappearing, but okay. He brought a great lead to the table yesterday, is that guy in Philadelphia had a property that was basically a gut job, like literally drywall was missing, systems were broken, like it's a start over. And we got on the we did, you know, he gave us information. We got on the phone with the guy. We did some research. We got on the phone with the guy, and just what he wanted was not a number we could accomplish, basically. But we always get on the phone with him and we tell him where we're at. Turns out this guy is a licensed agent. This guy is an investor. He's a flipper. He works in a couple of different cities in Pennsylvania. He knows what he has, okay? And he feels a little differently than we do on value, which is fine. But it ended up being a great conversation because I said to him, look, I said, here's what I can do. I said, I don't think I'm going to get you your number, but I can try. But I said, also, if I were you, I'd be flipping the house. And we do lending. We can provide you with money. We can do this. We can do that. So I opened up doors for him and to him in other directions. So I was trying to boot that guy. That was an insulting guy. And we opened up things to him, and I told Alex, I said, put him on the buyer's form and the seller's form and the borrower's form. Put him on all three forms. So we know of him as a possible borrower, we know of him as a possible buyer, we know of him as a possible seller, and go from there. So an unexpected relationship, a possible failure in the wholesale model doesn't mean it's a possible failure on you making money. It just might change how you make the money. So the last thing I wanted to cover for the licensees today, and for the non-licensees, this actually circles back and fits everybody, is networking. Networking is a huge value add. First of all, every meetup you can. And if you guys, okay, licensees are getting business cards. You non-licensees, you want business cards from us, we'll be happy to provide them. I provide the first 100, you pay for the rest. Or usually what most people do is they pay for a larger order. I'll pay for the 100 price and you can pay for more. Have something that identifies you. Ideally, that identifies you as part of us so they can look at the legitimacy. Because that's what this game is. As much as I'm not a people person, this is a reputation, team, professionalism business. That's what this is. This is just that. So go to meetups in your community. Introduce yourself to other investors. That's usually who's there. Landlords, flippers, buyers, wholesalers. Great. Another wholesaler has a deal. We might have a buyer for them. So we want that connection as well. Or vice versa. We might land a deal. And I did it last year, a couple times last year. Another wholesaler brought the buyer. I don't care. But one of the buyers at this deal yesterday was a major wholesaler. So he was looking to put it under contract with us and take it to one of his team. Okay, that's cool. Beautiful. Done. Do it. You're also wanting to be visible in your community. Not necessarily go to community meetings, but maybe. Maybe you want to hold an event. You want to hold a, what to do with your real estate event. I'll come down. You get a group together, I'll come down, whatever. Getting visible and getting your networking rolling. I don't even know what. No offense, I'm not at all against LGBT stuff, but that's not really what we are. Somebody posted another thing about an LGBT meetup. It's like, listen, no problem, but that doesn't belong in our world. I wish you well with your event. But anyway, so networking is key. Visibility is key. Be on the podcast, at least as a listener, every Sunday morning in Clubhouse, which is an app, Creative BRRR Strategies podcast with Joe Scarice. He's the king of the podcast. I am one of his guest moderators, basically. Half a dozen or dozen of us show up almost every week and, give our 2 cents on whatever our daily topic is. Do that kind of stuff. Be visible in your community. Offer on your Facebook business page and your Instagram business page and you're this, you're that, you're the other thing. Offer useful tips. Like steal them from me, basically. Take my content. You take anyone's content, you always give credit. I care less about mine, but I do care. But if you take, National Association of Realtors study, say, this study from National Association of Realtors, click, here's the study. Your audience sees it as you're a resource, but you're not stealing, you're not plagiarizing. Now, what we're going to do at every deal we do is we drop off, we didn't do it last night, I forgot them, but we drop off flyers to all the local owners. If we don't, we mail to all the local owners. Hey, listen, we just helped this, when it's over, we just helped this thing happen. Because if a deal happens with one person in the neighborhood, it might happen with another. And remember, the last thing I'll cover today is the perpetual $500 in 5 minutes guarantee to your friends. They give you a lead, they get $500 on closing, if it closes. Done. So everyone hey, if you know someone looking to do a real estate transaction, let us know. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Any questions, feel free to reach out, and we will go from there.